The first post hit my grasp before I even reached the back door. Cedar dust floated in the morning sun. A nail gun cracked twice, then again, and the new fence line cut straight across my backyard like someone had dragged a blade through it. 3 HOA contractors were already 20 feet in, driving posts into the section I owned, the section that held my shed, my grill pad, and the underground irrigation valve that fed half the shared drainage strip behind our block. Then I saw the orange stakes. Crooked. Moved. Off by more than 10 feet. And whoever ordered that move had just put a private HOA fence across a utility easement I controlled. I stepped onto the patio, and the smell of fresh cut wood mixed with wet soil and diesel exhaust. One worker kept digging. Another lifted panels off a trailer. The third looked at me, then looked away, like I was the one trespassing. "You're in my yard," I said. The foreman wiped his hands on his vest and handed me a folded sheet with the HOA seal at the top. "Boundary correction," he said. "Board approved." He said it calmly. Like those 2 words overruled a deed, a survey, and the sprinkler heads they had already crushed into the dirt. I looked past him. The new fence didn't just take part of my yard. It boxed off the back access strip the drainage crew used every spring. It pushed hard against my shed door. One more panel and that door would never open fully again. Then I heard heels on stone. Sharp. Even. Deliberate. Victoria Hayes came around the side gate in a white blazer and sunglasses, holding a clipboard against her chest like a badge. She smiled before she spoke. That was the first dishonest thing she did. "Ethan," she said, dragging out my name like we were discussing flower beds. "We're bringing this area into compliance." Compliance. The word landed almost as hard as the nail gun. I was 38 years old, a civil engineer, and I'd spent the last 11 years measuring grades, setbacks, runoff paths, and buried service lines for a living. I knew exactly what sat under that patch of grass. I also knew nobody on this HOA board had the authority to redraw a line over breakfast. Victoria pointed with her pen. "The community has a right to maintain visual continuity." Visual continuity. Behind her, one of the workers dropped a post into the hole they dug beside my irrigation box. Too close. Way too close. The plastic lid cracked under his boot with a flat, ugly snap. He froze for half a second. Victoria didn't even turn around. That told me everything. This wasn't sloppy. It was planned. I took the paper from the foreman and scanned the sketch. Clean lines. Fresh print. Wrong dimensions. Worse than wrong. The reference point they used wasn't even on my parcel. It was from the common greenbelt 2 lots over. Somebody had copied the wrong map, or copied the right one and hoped I wouldn't notice. And then I noticed something else. A small security camera zip-tied to the trailer rack. Pointed at me. Waiting. They weren't just taking my backyard. They were building a record. They wanted the angry homeowner. The outburst. The clip they could replay at the next board meeting while pretending this was all about order. So I gave them nothing. No shouting. No threats. Just silence. I handed the paper back. Victoria's smile tightened. She wanted resistance. Instead, I stepped off the patio, walked to the broken irrigation box, and looked down at the valve they had almost pinned under concrete anchor mix. She followed me with that same polished expression, but now there was a flicker under it. Because she could see I wasn't looking at the fence anymore. I was looking at what sat under it. And this had already gone way past the backyard. I crouched beside the cracked irrigation box and brushed the dirt away with my hand. The plastic lid had split clean down the middle. One more post and they would have sealed the valve shut under concrete. The same valve that controlled the runoff channel behind our entire row of houses. I ran my fingers along the edge of the pipe and felt the pressure hum under it. Still active. Still feeding the line. That line did not belong to the HOA. It ran through my property, and I was the one who maintained it every spring when the rain came down hard and the backyard started to flood. I stood up slowly and looked back at the fence. They were moving fast. Now. Panels going up one after another, each one locking that mistake deeper into the ground. Victoria stepped closer, heels pressing into the soft soil they had just disturbed. She glanced down at the broken box, then back at me. Her smile did not change, but her grip on the clipboard tightened just enough for me to notice. "If there is damage, you can file a request with the board," she said. Calm. Controlled. Like she had practiced that line. I did not answer. I walked along the new fence line instead, counting steps in my head. 12 feet off. Maybe a little more near the corner. The stakes they used were not just wrong. They were placed with confidence. That meant someone told them exactly where to put them. And that someone either did not understand the layout of this land or understood it perfectly, and chose to ignore it. I stopped where the fence cut closest to my shed. The door barely cleared the edge of the panel. Another inch and it would jam completely. Inside that shed were the tools I used to service the drainage line, the same line that kept water from pooling behind 5 different properties. I reached for the handle and pulled it open just enough to hear the hinge strain. The sound was sharp. Tight. Not built for this kind of pressure. Behind me, the nail gun fired again. Louder this time. Like a warning shot. I turned back and saw one of the workers pouring quick-set mix into a post hole. Gray dust puffed into the air and settled over the grass. Over my grass. I stepped closer and watched it harden around the base. Once that set, moving the fence would not just be a correction. It would be a demolition. And that changed everything. I pulled my phone out but did not raise it. Not yet. I let them keep going. Let the camera on their trailer keep recording. Let the board think this was another quiet compliance job. Victoria shifted her weight and followed my line of sight. For a second, her eyes dropped to the irrigation valve again. Just a flicker. Then she looked away. That was enough. She knew something was there. She just did not know what it did. Or who controlled it. I walked back toward the patio, slow and steady, boots pressing into the damp soil. The smell of concrete mix hung in the air now, heavier than before. The fence stretched across my yard like it had always been there. Clean lines. Straight edges. Completely wrong. I stopped at the edge of the patio and turned one last time. "You are going to want to finish that today," I said. The foreman looked up. Confused. Victoria narrowed her eyes slightly, like she was trying to read past the words. I held her gaze for a second longer, then stepped inside without another explanation. Because if they were going to cross that line, I needed it locked in place first. And once that concrete cured, there would be no easy way back for them. I did not sit down once I got inside. I stood by the kitchen window and watched them through the glass, the reflection of my own face faint against the bright yard. The fence kept growing. Panel by panel. Straight. Confident. Like it had always belonged there. One of the workers adjusted a level against a post and tapped it twice with a hammer. The sound carried clean through the window. Precise. Final. I glanced at the clock on the wall. 9:12 a.m. They had started less than an hour ago, and they were already more than halfway done. That kind of speed did not come from guesswork. It came from instructions. I pulled open the drawer near the sink and took out a folded set of documents, edges worn from use. Not copies. Originals. Survey lines. Elevation notes. Utility routing. The kind of paperwork most people never look at twice after closing day. I spread them across the counter and traced the boundary line with my finger. It ran clean along the back edge of my lot, then angled slightly near the drainage strip. The exact spot where they had dropped their first post. 10 feet inside my line. Not a rounding error. Not a misunderstanding. A decision. I set the papers down and walked to the back door again. This time I stepped outside without stopping. The air felt heavier now. The smell of curing concrete mixed with cut wood and sun-warmed dirt. It stuck in the back of my throat. Victoria stood near the center of the yard, talking quietly with the foreman. She stopped when she saw me approach. Her posture stayed perfect, but her eyes sharpened. "We will be finished before noon," she said, like she was offering a courtesy. I nodded once and looked past her to the base of the nearest post. The concrete had already set enough to hold. That window was closing fast. "You are tying into that corner?" I asked, pointing toward the section near the drainage strip. The foreman glanced at Victoria before answering. "Yes, sir. Straight run to the end." Straight run. That meant they were about to anchor directly over the secondary access line. The one buried just under the surface, the one that connected the main valve to the overflow channel. I stepped closer, just enough to hear the faint vibration under the ground. Still there. Still active. Victoria followed my movement, her heels sinking slightly into the softened soil. "Is there a concern?" she asked. Her voice stayed smooth, but there was something under it now. Not doubt. Calculation. I looked at her for a second, then shook my head. "No concern," I said. "Just making sure you finished the job you started." That line landed differently. I could see it in the way her grip tightened on the clipboard again. She turned back to the foreman and gave a small nod. Work resumed instantly. Faster now. Like they were racing something they could not see. I stepped back and let them move. Let the posts go deeper. Let the concrete lock in. The camera on the trailer shifted slightly in the wind, its lens catching the sunlight and throwing a small glare across the yard. Still recording. Good. I walked along the patio edge and stopped near the corner where the fence would meet the last stake. From here, I could see the full line. The angle. The intrusion. Clean. Documented. Permanent. For now. A neighbor's door opened 2 houses down. Someone stepped out, paused, and stared at the fence. Then they looked at me. Then back at the fence again. No one said a word. That was how these things spread. Quiet first. Then questions. Then problems. I checked my watch again. 10:03 a.m. Almost done. The foreman called out measurements. The last panel lifted into place. Nails fired. Quick. Efficient. Final. The sound echoed once, then faded. Silence. Settled over the yard. The kind that comes right after something irreversible. Victoria stepped forward and ran her hand lightly along the top rail. Satisfied. Like she had just corrected something that needed fixing. She turned toward me with that same polished smile, but it did not reach her eyes this time. Not fully. "If you have any further concerns, you can bring them to the next board meeting," she said. I looked at the fence one more time, then at the ground beneath it. At the line they had just sealed over. "I will," I said. Then I turned and walked back inside, already reaching for my phone. Because the moment that concrete cured, their problem was no longer just a boundary. I closed the door behind me and the house went quiet, but the pressure under the floor did not. It moved through the pipes like a low hum, steady and controlled, the same way it had every spring when the runoff came down from the slope behind the neighborhood. I walked straight to the utility panel in the hallway and opened it. The metal door creaked, then settled. Inside, the control switches sat exactly where I left them. Labeled. Maintained. Not HOA property. Not shared. Mine. I ran my finger over the main valve control and felt the slight vibration through the casing. Active flow. That meant the line was still open beneath the fence they had just sealed into place. I stepped back and pulled my phone up, scrolling through a folder I had not touched in months. Photos. Survey overlays. Marked lines from the last time I serviced the drainage path. I stopped on one image and zoomed in. The exact corner where they poured concrete less than an hour ago. The secondary access line ran right under it. Not deep. Not protected. And not designed to carry pressure without access. I glanced back toward the yard through the window. The fence stood clean and finished now. No movement. No noise. Just a perfect barrier sitting exactly where it should not be. That silence felt heavier than the construction did. Because now everything was locked. I tapped a number and held the phone to my ear. It rang twice before a voice picked up. County Water Services, he said. I kept my eyes on the fence as I spoke. This is Ethan Caldwell. I need to report an obstruction over a registered drainage access point. There was a pause on the other end. Papers shifting. Keys clicking. Location? He asked. I gave the address. Then the parcel reference. Then the permit number tied to the drainage line. I heard the change in his breathing before he spoke again. Slower now. More focused. That line services multiple properties, he said. Yes, I answered. An access has been blocked. Another pause. Longer this time. Do not alter anything, he said. We will send someone out. I ended the call and lowered the phone. Outside, Victoria had not left yet. She stood near the gate, speaking to one of the workers who was packing up tools. Her posture stayed composed, but she kept glancing back at the fence line. At the ground. At the exact section where the concrete had been poured thickest. She felt it now. Not the detail. Not the full picture. But something. Enough to make her look twice. I stepped out onto the patio again. The air had shifted. Less noise. More heat. The kind that builds when the sun hits fresh concrete. She noticed me immediately. Of course she did. Everything complete, she said. The board will be pleased. I nodded slowly and walked a few steps closer, stopping just short of the fence. I placed my hand lightly against the top rail. Solid. Set. Permanent, at least in their minds. It looks permanent, I said. She smiled again, but there was a tightness now that had not been there before. That is the intention, she replied. I let my hand drop and looked down at the base of the post. The concrete had already hardened along the edges, but the center still held a faint dark line where moisture had not fully settled. That window was closing. Fast. Good, I said. You are going to want it exactly like this. The words hung there for a second longer than they should have. The worker nearby slowed his movements. Just slightly. Enough to notice. Victoria tilted her head, just a fraction. Reading tone. Not words. Is there something I should be aware of? She asked. Calm. Controlled. Still holding the line. I met her eyes and held them. You already are, I said. No explanation. No detail. Just enough to land. She did not respond right away. That was new. Instead, she glanced once more at the ground beneath the fence, then back at me. The smile returned, but it was thinner now. Measured. She turned and walked toward the front, heels tapping against the concrete path in steady rhythm. The workers followed soon after, trucks starting, engines rumbling low before pulling away. Within minutes, the yard was empty again. Just me. The fence. And the line buried underneath it. I stood there for a while, listening to the quiet. Feeling the steady pressure still moving beneath the surface. Uninterrupted. For now. Then I checked the time. Because the next part would not come from me. I stayed outside long enough for the sun to shift a few inches across the fence line. The wood warmed fast. The smell changed with it, less sharp now, heavier, mixed with drying concrete and cut grass. I walked the full length again, slow, counting steps like before. Same result. Same intrusion. Nothing moved. That was the point. I stepped back onto the patio and checked my phone. No missed calls yet. That meant the clock was still ticking. Not for me. For them. I went inside and filled a glass of water, then set it down untouched on the counter. The hum under the floor had not changed. Still steady. Still pushing through a line that was no longer accessible. That was where the problem would start. Not all at once. Not loud. Just pressure building where it was not supposed to. I picked up the folder again and flipped to the maintenance notes. Last service date. Flow rate. Seasonal adjustments. Everything logged. Everything tied to that single access point now sitting under 6 inches of concrete and a 4x4 post. I closed the folder and set it aside. No need to look at it again. I already knew how this played out. The first knock came just after 11. Not at my door. At the fence. A dull tap. Then another. I stepped outside and saw a man in a county vest crouched near the corner where the ground dipped slightly toward the drainage strip. He ran a small probe into the soil, then pulled it back out and looked at the reading. Another man stood behind him, scanning a tablet. They did not speak right away. They just looked. That was always the first sign. I walked over, stopping a few feet away. The man with the probe glanced up. "You reported the obstruction?" he asked. I nodded. He pointed toward the base of the fence. "You know this line services more than just your lot." "I do," I said. He pressed the probe back into the ground, closer to the concrete this time. The reading changed. His expression did not, but his movements slowed. More careful now. The second man stepped closer, tapping something on the screen. "Access point is marked here," he said, turning the tablet slightly. The outline matched my documents. Matched the line under the fence. He looked at the post. Then at me. "This was poured today?" "Less than 2 hours ago," I said. He exhaled once, low and controlled, then stood up straight. "We are going to need to open that," he said, nodding toward the concrete base. Behind him, the quiet shifted again. Not noise. Presence. Victoria. She came through the side gate faster this time, no clipboard, no slow steps. Her heels hit the stone path harder, sharper. She stopped just short of the county workers and looked from them to me. "Is there an issue?" she asked. The man with the tablet answered before I could. "There is a registered drainage access point under this structure," he said. "It needs to remain accessible." Victoria's smile returned, but it was thinner than before. "We have full approval for this installation," she said. The man did not react to that. He simply pointed at the ground. "Approval does not override utility access," he said. That landed. I saw it in the way her shoulders stiffened just slightly. She looked at the fence. Then at the concrete. Then back at me. For the first time, there was no immediate response. No polished line ready to go. Just a pause. Small. But real. The worker with the probe stepped closer to the post and tapped it lightly with his boot. Solid. Set. Not something you adjust with a wrench. "If this line backs up," he said, more to his partner than to anyone else, "you are going to see pooling across multiple properties." He glanced toward the row of houses behind mine. Quiet now. Watching. And that becomes a different problem. Victoria followed his gaze. The row. The yards. The slope. She could see it now. Not the details. Not the system. But the scale. Bigger than a backyard. Bigger than a fence. She turned back to me, and for a second, the controls slipped. Just a fraction. Enough to notice. Then it came back. "We can address any concerns through the board," she said, voice steady again. The man with the tablet shook his head once. "This is not a board issue," he said. "This is access." The word hung there. Heavy. Specific. Not something she could redirect. The probe pressed into the ground again. The reading shifted once more. The man looked at his partner, then at the post. Then at me. No rush now. No assumption. Just confirmation. Because once they said it out loud, there would be no walking it back. No one spoke for a few seconds. The kind of silence that settles when everyone in the space realizes the rules just changed. The man with the tablet took one step closer to the post and crouched down, brushing a thin layer of dust off the concrete with his glove. He traced the edge slowly, then pressed his thumb against the surface. Still curing. Still vulnerable. But not for long. "We need this open before it fully sets," he said, not looking up. Victoria crossed her arms. Not defensive. Calculated. "That would require authorization," she said. Her voice stayed even, but the words came quicker now. Less polished. The second worker stood and glanced back toward the street, like he was already thinking 2 steps ahead. Authorization is not the issue, he said. Access is. That word again. It landed heavier this time. I stayed where I was, just inside the edge of the patio, letting them work through it. Letting her hear it from someone she could not dismiss as a homeowner. Victoria shifted her stance and looked at the fence line again, then down at the exact section where the probe had gone in. Her heel pressed into the soil there, testing it. Feeling something she could not see. If there is a technical conflict, she said, we can coordinate a review with the board and adjust accordingly. The man with the tablet stood up fully now and shook his head once. Slow. Certain. This is not a review situation, he said. If this line is blocked and we get rain, water backs up. It does not stop at your fence. He pointed toward the slope behind the houses. It moves. That was the second shift. Not just a line. Not just my yard. Movement. Spread. Victoria followed his hand, eyes tracking the direction of the grade for the first time since she stepped back into the yard. She could see it now. The angle. The path. The way everything drained through this one section. She turned back to me again, and this time there was no smile at all. Just a flat look. Measuring. I met it without moving. The man with the probe stood and wiped his hands on his vest. We are going to document this, he said. He reached for his radio, then paused, looking once more at the concrete. Once it sets, removal becomes a different process. Another shift. Time. Pressure. Escalation. Victoria stepped forward quickly now, closing the distance between her and the post. There is no need to escalate this, she said. We can resolve it internally. The word internally sounded smaller than it should have. The worker did not respond to that. He lifted his radio and spoke into it, low and steady, calling in a location, a reference number, and a note about restricted access over a shared drainage line. Each word landed like a marker. Fixed. Recorded. Victoria exhaled once through her nose, then turned slightly away, pulling her phone out. Her fingers moved fast across the screen. Calling someone. Or warning them. Or both. I stepped down off the patio and walked a few feet closer, stopping beside the edge of the concrete. Close enough to feel the heat rising off it now. It had darkened at the center, the moisture still trapped beneath the surface. Another hour, and it would be solid. Permanent in a way that mattered. You built over the only access point, I said, not loud, not sharp. Just clear. She did not look at me right away. She kept her phone at her ear, waiting for someone to pick up. When she finally turned, there was something different in her expression. Not panic. Not yet. But the control had shifted. Slightly. Enough to see. You should have raised this before construction, she said. The line was clean, but it landed wrong. Too late. Too defensive. I shook my head once. I needed you to finish it, I said. That was the third shift. The one she did not expect. Her eyes narrowed just a fraction. The man with the tablet looked between us, then back at the fence. The radio crackled softly with a response. Units en route. Estimated time. Short. The sound carried across the yard like a countdown. Victoria lowered her phone slowly, the call either unanswered or cut short. She looked at the fence again. Then at the ground beneath it. Then back at me. For the first time since she stepped onto this property, she did not speak immediately. Because now it was not about approval. Not about the board. Not about control. It was about what sat under that line. And what was about to happen to everything connected to it. The radio crackled again, louder this time, and the sound seemed to pull the air tighter across the yard. The county worker glanced down at the device, listened for a second, then clipped it back to his vest. They are close, he said. No urgency in his voice. Just confirmation. Victoria shifted her weight again, slower now, like every movement needed to be measured. Her eyes moved from the post to the drainage strip, then to the row of houses behind it. She was mapping it in her head, trying to catch up to something that had already passed her. I stepped back half a pace and let the moment breathe. The fence stood quiet between us. Fresh. Solid. Already part of the ground in a way that mattered. One of the county workers pulled out a small marker flag and pushed it into the soil beside the post. Bright yellow. Impossible to miss. A signal. Not for us. For whoever was coming next. "We are marking the obstruction," he said, almost to himself. Victoria watched the flag go in, and for the first time, her hand dropped from the clipboard entirely. No shield now. Just open air. "This does not need to turn into a formal issue," she said. The sentence came slower. Careful. The worker with the tablet looked up at her, then back at the fence. "It already is," he said. That was the fourth shift. Not a warning. A fact. The kind that does not reverse once spoken. A truck rolled to a stop at the curb out front, engine low and steady. Another behind it. Doors opened. Footsteps approached along the side path, heavier than before, more deliberate. The presence changed again. Bigger now. More official. I stayed where I was, hands relaxed at my sides, watching the line where would met ground. The new arrival stepped into the yard and paused for half a second, taking in the scene. The fence. The post. The flag. The workers. Victoria. Me. Then they moved in. One of them carried a hard case. Another held a clipboard with a different seal on it. Not the HOA. Not even close. Who reported restricted access? The man with the case asked. The county worker gestured toward me. I did not step forward. I did not need to. The man nodded once, then crouched beside the flag post. He opened the case and pulled out a handheld scanner, running it slowly along the ground. The device hummed softly, then gave a short, sharp tone. He adjusted the angle and scanned again. Same result. He looked up at his partner and gave a small nod. No words. Just confirmation. Victoria stepped forward, faster now, trying to reclaim space. We have full documentation for this installation, she said. The words sounded familiar. Practiced. But thinner now. The man with the scanner did not look at her. He kept his focus on the ground. You built over a registered access line, he said. Simple. Direct. No room to move around it. Victoria's shoulders lifted slightly, then settled. If there is a conflict, we can coordinate removal and reinstall under proper guidance, she said. Her tone shifted again. Less command. More negotiation. The second man flipped a page on his clipboard and checked something against the marker flag. This is not a reinstall issue, he said. This is an obstruction of a shared system. That word again. System. It stretched the problem beyond the fence, beyond the yard, beyond her reach. I watched her face as that landed. The control was still there, but it was slipping at the edges now. Small cracks. The kind that spread if you let them. The man with the scanner stood up and brushed his hands together lightly. We are going to document this fully, he said. And we will need access restored. He looked at the concrete. Then at the post. Then at the entire line. Soon. Not immediate. Not rushed. But definite. Victoria followed his gaze along the fence, and for a moment she saw it the same way I did. Not as a boundary. Not as control. As a problem stretching the full length of my yard. Her phone buzzed in her hand. She glanced down at it, then silenced it without answering. That was new. I took one step closer to the fence and placed my hand lightly against the top rail again. Still warm. Still firming up. It is almost set, I said. Not to her. Not to them. Just into the space between us. The man with the clipboard looked at the concrete again, then back at me. Then we move quickly, he said. Another shift. Time compressing now. Decisions closing in. Victoria drew a breath, slow and controlled, then looked straight at me. Not past me. Not around me. At me. And for the first time since this started, she did not try to speak over the moment. Because now she understood what I had been waiting for all along. The man with the clipboard stepped closer to the post and knelt down, running his fingers along the edge where the concrete met the soil. He pressed lightly, then harder, testing the set. You have maybe 40 minutes before this fully cures, he said. Not to anyone specific. Just stating it out loud. The kind of number that changes decisions. Victoria's eyes snapped to the base of the post, then back up to him. Then we act within that window, she said quickly. Too quickly. The man did not respond right away. He stood up slowly and looked down the full length of the fence, following the line from one end of my yard to the other. It is not just one post, he said. It is every anchor point tied into this run. Another shift. Bigger now. Not a fix. A removal. The second official flipped another page and pointed along the diagram. This entire section sits over the access corridor, he said. Not just here. He tapped near the middle, then near the far corner. Each tap felt like another layer being stripped away. Victoria turned her head, tracking each point. The realization spread across her face in stages. First the corner. Then the middle. Then the full length. The fence was not just in the wrong place. It was wrong everywhere that mattered. I stepped closer again, just enough to feel the heat rising stronger now from the concrete bases. The air shimmered slightly above them. Time was moving. Fast. One of the county workers walked back toward the truck and returned with a longer metal rod. He pushed it into the soil beside the second post. The resistance changed halfway down. He paused, adjusted, then pushed again. The rod stopped hard. He pulled it back and looked at the tip. Damp. Pressurized ground. He nodded once to his partner. No words needed. Victoria saw it. That small nod? That confirmation. She stepped forward again, closing the gap between her and the officials. We can remove specific sections immediately, she said. We will handle the rest through the board. Her voice held, but the edges were starting to fray. The man with the clipboard shook his head once more. Partial removal does not restore access, he said. The line needs to be clear along its full path. That word again. Full. No shortcuts. No adjustments. I watched her process that. Watched the options narrow in real time. The sound of a distant lawn mower started up somewhere down the block, then faded as it moved away. Everything else stayed still. Focused here. On this line. On this mistake. The man with the scanner walked the length of the fence now, slow, deliberate, passing the device over each section. The tone repeated at regular intervals. Consistent. Unbroken. Every post. Every anchor. Every decision locked into place. He stopped near the far end and turned back. It is continuous, he said. Final. That word settled over the yard heavier than anything before it. Victoria's hand tightened around her phone again, but she did not lift it this time. She just held it, like it might still offer a solution. It did not. I stepped back onto the patio and leaned slightly against the railing, watching the entire scene from a wider angle now. The fence divided the yard cleanly, but it also connected every problem into one line. One action. One consequence. The man with the clipboard checked his watch, then looked at the concrete again. We are approaching the point where mechanical removal becomes required, he said. That escalates cost and response. Another shift. Not just access. Not just authority. Cost. Scale. Impact. Victoria closed her eyes for a brief second, then opened them again. When she looked at me this time, there was no attempt to mask it. She understood. Not everything. Not the system beneath. But enough. Enough to know this was no longer contained. I pushed off the railing and stepped forward one last time, stopping just short of the fence. I ran my hand along the top rail again, slower this time, feeling the slight warmth still trapped in the wood. You built a continuous barrier over a shared line, I said. Calm. Clear. She did not argue. She did not deflect. She just stood there, eyes fixed on the ground beneath the post nearest her. The man with the radio lifted it again and spoke into it, updating the status, requesting additional support, confirming obstruction across the full corridor. The words carried across the yard like markers being set in stone. Because once those words were logged, this stopped being a mistake. It became a case. And cases do not shrink once they start. The second radio call came in sharper, louder, like the situation had moved up a level without anyone saying it out loud. The man with the clipboard listened, then gave a short response and clipped it back to his vest. His posture shifted slightly. Not tense. Not rushed. Just more final. They are dispatching a compliance unit, he said. That word landed differently. Compliance. Not inspection. Not review. Something heavier. Victoria's gaze snapped toward him, then toward the street, like she expected to see the next step arriving already. That is not necessary, she said, voice firm again, reaching for control she could feel slipping. The man did not look at her this time. He stayed focused on the fence. It is already in motion, he said. Another shift. No longer optional. I stay near the patio, watching the light change across the wood as the sun climbed higher. The heat from the concrete had settled into a steady warmth now. No soft spots left. No easy adjustments. The window had closed. A truck engine rumbled closer, slower than the first ones, heavier. It stopped out front with a deeper idle. Doors opened. Boots hit pavement. More footsteps. Not hurried. Deliberate. The kind that carries authority without raising its voice. The new arrival stepped into the yard and paused, just like the others had. Taking in the line. The posts. The flags. The officials already present. Then they moved forward, straight to the center of the fence. One of them wore a darker vest with a county seal I recognized. He did not ask questions right away. He looked down at the base of the post, then along the full run, then at the scanner device still in the other man's hand. Continuous obstruction? He asked. The scanner operator nodded once. Confirmed across the full corridor. The man with the darker vest exhaled slowly and set his hands on his hips, looking at the fence like it was already something else. Not new construction. Not property. A problem. Victoria stepped forward again, faster now, closing the gap before anyone else could speak. We have documentation for this installation, she said, holding her ground. The words sounded thinner now, stretched over something they could not cover. The man turned to her, finally giving her his full attention. Do you have documentation that authorizes blocking a registered access line? He asked. Direct. No space to redirect. She opened her mouth, then paused. Just for a second. Enough. The silence that followed was louder than anything she had said before. I watched her search for the next line, the next angle, the next way to reshape the moment. It did not come. The man nodded once, like that pause had answered the question. He turned back to his team. We are escalating this, he said. Another shift. Bigger. Formal now. The word carried weight that did not fade. One of the team members pulled out a roll of bright tape and stretched it between two stakes near the fence line. A boundary within a boundary. Marking it off. Claiming it in a different way. The worker who had set the original posts earlier stood near the truck, watching quietly. No tools in his hands now. No movement. Just waiting. Everyone was waiting. The man with the darker vest pulled out a notepad and began writing, each line steady, deliberate. I could hear the scratch of the pen even from where I stood. Recording. Locking it in? Victoria took a step back, then another, her eyes moving between the officials, the tape, the fence. The space around her had changed. Smaller now. Defined by something she did not control. She stopped near the edge of the patio and looked at me again. This time, there was no mask left. No polished tone. Just a direct look. Trying to measure what she had walked into. I met it without moving. The man finished writing and tore the page cleanly, handing it to one of his team members. "Notice will be issued," he said. "Immediate corrective action required." Each word landed like a step closing in. Victoria took the paper but did not look at it right away. She just held it, her fingers tightening slightly at the edges. The fence stood between us, unchanged. Solid. Silent. But everything around it had shifted. The officials moved into position, preparing for the next step, whatever that would be. I stepped back once more, giving them space, letting the scene settle into its new shape. Because now it was no longer about what had been built. It was about what would have to be undone. The paper in Victoria's hand did not move for a few seconds. The edges bent slightly under her grip, but she still did not look down at it. The man with the darker vest stepped back and gave a small signal to his team. Not rushed. Just enough to shift everyone into the next phase. One of them walked the length of the fence again, this time placing additional markers at each post. Bright. Visible. Final. Each one turned that clean line into a series of flag points. Not decoration anymore. Evidence. I stayed near the patio and watched the pattern form. Post. Flag. Post. Flag. All the way down. The fence had not changed. But what it meant had. Victoria finally lowered her eyes to the notice in her hand. She read the first line, then the second. Her jaw tightened slightly. Not dramatic. Just enough to register. When she looked up again, the yard felt smaller around her. "We will need time to coordinate removal," she said. The sentence came slower now. Careful. Controlled. The man with the darker vest shook his head once. "Time is already part of the issue," he said. He pointed toward the ground. "That line is active. It does not pause for coordination." Another shift. The system under the surface was now part of the conversation, whether she understood it or not. I stepped forward a few feet, stopping beside the nearest flag. The thin plastic fluttered slightly in the heat rising off the concrete. "Flow is steady right now," I said. "But it does not stay that way." I did not raise my voice. I did not need to. The words carried on their own. Victoria turned toward me again, and for a moment there was something close to urgency in her expression. Not panic. Not yet. But closer than before. "Then we resolve this quickly," she said. The man with the clipboard flipped to another page and made a note. "Quickly is already behind us," he said. "Now it is about compliance." That word again. It settled deeper this time. Not a suggestion. A requirement. One of the team members set down a small case near the center of the fence and opened it, revealing tools designed for measurement, not construction. They began documenting distances, angles, depths. Every number tied to a point. Every point tied to the same line. I could hear the soft clicks of the measuring device, steady and precise. Victoria watched them work, her eyes moving from one marker to the next. Counting. Calculating. Seeing the scope expand beyond anything she had planned. The man with the darker vest turned slightly and addressed her directly. "You are responsible for initiating removal," he said. "Failure to act will result in direct intervention." The sentence was clean. Final. It did not leave space for interpretation. Victoria took a slow breath and nodded once, but the movement lacked the confidence she had carried earlier. She looked down the full length of the fence again, and this time she saw what it really was. Not a boundary. Not control. A continuous mistake set in concrete. I stepped back and leaned lightly against the patio rail, giving them room to continue. The heat had settled into a steady presence now, rising from the ground in waves. The smell of wood and concrete mixed into something heavier. More permanent. A neighbor stepped closer to the edge of their yard, watching quietly. Then another. The line of observers grew without a word. The problem was no longer contained. The man with the clipboard closed his folder and tapped it once against his palm. "We will return to verify compliance," he said. "Soon." Another word that carried weight without needing volume. Victoria nodded again, tighter this time, and folded the notice carefully before slipping it into her hand. Not dismissing it. Holding it. The team began packing up, but not with the same finality as before. This was not the end of a job. It was the beginning of one. The markers stayed. The tape stayed. The fence stayed. For now. I stepped down from the patio one last time and walked to the nearest post, placing my hand against it again. Solid. Warm. Locked in place. Exactly where I needed it to be. I looked down at the ground beneath it, then back up at the line stretching across the yard. Because everything that came next would start right here. The yard did not go quiet after they left. It held on to something. A weight. The markers stayed planted along the fence, bright against the grass, each one catching the light like a warning. I walked the line again, slower this time, letting my hand trace the top rail from one post to the next. Solid. Fully set now. No give at all. That mattered. I stopped at the corner where the first flag had been placed and looked down at the soil. The ground there felt tighter. Packed differently. The kind of change you only notice if you know what sits beneath it. I could still feel the pressure through the ground. Subtle. Constant. Moving where it had always moved. For now. A truck door slammed somewhere down the block. Then another. Voices carried faintly, not close enough to make out words, but close enough to signal movement. Not from the county this time. From the neighborhood. I looked up and saw two more neighbors standing near the edge of their yards, arms crossed, watching the fence like it had just appeared overnight. No one stepped forward. No one spoke. They did not need to. The line spoke for itself. I turned and walked back toward the patio, picking up my phone as I moved. One missed call. Unknown number. I let it sit for a second, then tapped it back. It rang once before connecting. "This is Caldwell," I said. A different voice answered this time. Sharper. More direct. "This is Regional Compliance," he said. "We have been briefed on the obstruction." Briefed. That meant the report had already moved up. Faster than most people expected. "Understood," I said. I kept my eyes on the fence while he spoke. "We will be issuing a formal directive to the responsible party," he continued. "Failure to comply will result in enforced removal." The words came clean. No hesitation. I could almost hear the paperwork behind them. Signed. Filed. Logged. "Timeline?" I asked. There was a short pause on the line. Not uncertainty. Calculation. "Immediate initiation required," he said. "Verification will follow." Another step locked in. I ended the call and lowered the phone slowly. Across the yard, Victoria had not left. She stood near the side gate, still holding the folded notice, still looking at the fence. Not the top rail anymore. The ground. The line beneath it. I stepped off the patio again and walked toward her, stopping a few feet short. Close enough to be heard. Not close enough to crowd. She did not look up right away. Her eyes stayed fixed on the base of the nearest post. "You knew," she said finally. Not a question. A statement. I nodded once. No explanation. She let out a slow breath, then unfolded the notice in her hand again, scanning it like it might have changed. It had not. Nothing about this had. "This could have been handled differently," she said. The words were softer now. Less about control. More about outcome. I shook my head slightly. "Not once it started," I said. She looked up then, meeting my eyes fully for the first time since the officials arrived. No mask left. Just recognition. The line had been crossed long before the first post went in. She just had not seen it. A light wind moved through the yard, brushing against the flags, making them flicker in uneven rhythm. Each one marked a point that would have to be undone. Every single one. A phone rang in the distance. Then another. The neighborhood was waking up to it. Piece by piece. Victoria folded the notice again, tighter this time, and held it at her side. "They will expect action," she said. I nodded once. "They already do." The words settled between us, heavier than before. She turned slightly, looking down the full stretch of the fence again, and I could see it in her posture now. The shift was complete. Not just in control. In responsibility. The system she had leaned on was now pointed back at her. And it was not going to stop at the edge of my yard. I stepped back toward the patio, giving her space, letting the moment sit where it needed to. Because what came next would not be decided here. Not by a conversation. Not by a board. It would be decided by everything already set in motion. The afternoon light shifted again, stretching longer shadows across the yard, and the fence cast a hard line that cut everything in two. It no longer looked new. It looked fixed. Official. Like something that had always been there, even though every part of it was wrong. I stepped down onto the grass and walked to the center of the line, stopping where the markers were clustered closest together. The flags barely moved now. The air had gone still. That kind of stillness never lasts long. Victoria had not moved far. She stood near the gate, shoulders squared again, but the stance felt different. Not control. Containment. She was holding the situation in place, trying to stop it from spreading further than it already had. I crouched down near one of the posts and pressed my palm against the concrete base. Cold now. Fully cured. Locked. There would be no simple fix anymore. I stood back up and brushed the dust from my hands. A car slowed in front of the house, then stopped. Another behind it. Doors opened. Voices. Not officials this time. Residents. Board members. Drawn in by calls, by messages, by the quiet ripple that had already moved through the neighborhood. They stepped into the yard in small groups, stopping short when they saw the markers, the tape, the full line of the fence. No one crossed it. They stayed on their side, like the boundary had already been redefined. Victoria turned toward them, and for a moment, the old posture returned. Chin lifted. Voice ready. But it did not hold. Not fully. One of the board members, a man I had seen at meetings but never spoken to, stepped forward and looked down at the notice in her hand. "What is this?" he asked. Direct. No greeting. No small talk. She hesitated just long enough for it to matter, then handed it to him. He read the first line, then looked up sharply at the fence. His expression changed fast. Understanding without needing explanation. He turned slightly, looking down the entire stretch, then back at her. "You approve this?" he asked. The question carried weight. Not just between them. Across everyone standing there. Victoria did not answer right away. She glanced once toward the ground beneath the nearest post, then back at him. "It was within scope," she said. The words sounded smaller now. Fragile. The man shook his head slowly. "Not if it blocks access," he said. He handed the notice back, but his eyes stayed on the fence. Others stepped closer now, careful, stopping just short of the markers. Quiet voices moved between them. Questions. Fragments. No one raised their voice. They did not need to. The situation spoke louder than any argument could. I stepped back toward the patio, giving the group space, letting the shift happen without interference. The system had already moved past me. This was no longer about proving anything. It was about what came next. A phone rang again. This time closer. One of the board members answered, listening for a moment before his posture stiffened. He turned slightly away from the group, speaking in low tones. Urgent now. The kind of call that changes timelines. Victoria watched him, her expression tightening again, but not in the same way as before. Not control. Not denial. Recognition. The line had moved beyond her reach. The man ended the call and turned back to the group. They are moving forward, he said. No names. No details. None needed. Everyone understood what they meant now. The officials. The system. The process already in motion. The yard fell quiet again. Heavier this time. Final in a way that settled into the ground itself. I rested my hand against the patio rail and looked out across the fence one more time. The post stood firm. The markers stayed bright. The line beneath it all remained invisible, but it was the only thing that mattered. Victoria lowered her gaze to the notice again, then folded it once more, slower this time, like the act itself carried weight. She did not look at me again. She did not need to. Because the moment had already passed. And whatever came next would not be something she could step in front of anymore. The next morning came quieter than I expected. No trucks. No voices. Just early lights stretching across the yard and catching the markers still planted along the fence. They stood out even more now. Bright against everything that had settled overnight. I stepped outside with a cup of coffee and stopped at the edge of the patio. The fence looked the same. Solid. Straight. Completely unchanged. But the air around it felt different. Like it had already been claimed by something bigger than the wood itself. I walked the line again, slow, letting my hand rest against each post as I passed. Cold now. No trace of the heat from yesterday. Fully set. No movement left in it at all. That mattered more than anything. At the far end, near the drainage strip, I crouched down and pressed my palm against the soil. The pressure was still there. Faint, steady, moving under everything they had built. It had not stopped. It never would. That line did not care about fences or approvals or boards. It just followed its path. I stood up and looked back toward the house. The yard felt wider again, even with the fence cutting through it. Not because the boundary had changed. Because the control had. A car door shut down the street, then another. This time it was not a slow gathering. It was organized. 2 county vehicles pulled up, followed by a smaller truck with equipment in the back. No hesitation. No. Pause. The team stepped out and moved straight toward the fence. Same faces as before, plus a few more. Tools in hand now. Not for measuring. For action. Victoria was already there. Standing near the gate again, but this time she did not step forward to meet them. She stayed where she was, the folded notice still in her hand, like it had not left her since yesterday. One of the officials approached her directly. Quiet conversation. Short. Direct. No back and forth. She nodded once. Just once. And stepped aside. That was all it took. The shift was complete. The team moved in along the full length of the fence, setting up at each marked point. The sound started low. Metal against wood. Controlled. Precise. No rush. No chaos. Just a steady process unfolding exactly the way it had been set in motion the day before. I stayed near the patio, watching each section as it was addressed. Post by post. Anchor by anchor. The line that had been forced into place was now being taken apart the same way. Methodical. Documented. Final. Neighbors gathered again, but this time they stood further back. No questions. No comments. Just watching the reversal of something that should never have been built. I walked down to the center of the yard and stopped where the markers had been clustered. One by one, they were pulled from the ground as each section was cleared. The bright flags disappeared as the work moved forward, leaving only the original line beneath. The real one. The one that had never changed. Victoria remained near the gate, her posture still, her gaze fixed on the ground where the posts had stood. She did not speak. Not to them. Not to me. There was nothing left to say that would change what was already happening. I stepped closer to the cleared section near the irrigation line and looked down as the access point was uncovered again. The soil shifted slightly as the pressure adjusted, then settled back into its normal rhythm. Uninterrupted. Exactly where it should be. One of the officials glanced at me briefly and gave a small nod. Not acknowledgement. Confirmation. The system was clear again. The work continued down the line, each section restoring what had been buried. Just hours before. By midday, the fence was no longer a continuous barrier. It was a series of removed segments, stacked neatly to the side, waiting to be taken away. The yard opened back up, the division gone, the space returned to what it had always been. I walked back toward the patio and stopped at the edge, looking out over the cleared ground. The marks where the posts had been were still visible. Fresh. Temporary. They would fade. Everything does. Victoria turned once before leaving, her eyes moving across the yard, then settling briefly on me. No words. No gesture. Just a look that carried everything that had happened. Then she stepped through the gate and was gone. The last of the equipment was loaded up, engines started, and the trucks pulled away one by one. The yard went quiet again. Just the wind moving lightly through the grass. I stepped down one final time and stood where the center post had been, looking along the path that had caused all of it. Invisible again. But never gone. Because lines like that do not disappear. They just wait for someone to forget where they are.